Madam Chair, thank you very much. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me warmly welcome Her Excellency Madam Rita Grigaliena and honorable delegation members, Your Excellencies. Noriu pabrėžti gilią pagarbą.
I would like to pay a huge respect to Professor Lennartz for her huge contribution into women's legal analysis and the development of legal principles in the world. She was a high-level expert and an activist. Sorry for my pronunciation.
Ratified almost all United Nations Conventions against transnational crime and its protocols, Council of Europe, standards on the prevention of trafficking. In 2024, Lithuania is joined order to strengthen the protection of trafficking victims, signed by the Prosecutor General and all ministers and Interior and Social Security Labor ministers. At the same time, IOM, international organizations, supporting creation new web pages and supported hotline working in your country, especially on the prevention of trafficking. But at the same time, according to IOM, migrants, including Lithuanian citizens, are particularly at risk of becoming victims of human trafficking. In recent years, migrants from countries in the Eastern Bloc residing in Lithuania have increasingly fallen victim of traffickers, who exploit the emotional and psychological vulnerabilities, often stemming from experience of war or difficult economic conditions. While cases of human trafficking for prostitution or drug smuggling have declined in Lithuania, authorities say they are facing a rapid increasing in forced labor cases with foreign workers in the main victims. Lithuania prosecutor says they conduct no probes linked to Epstein files under the investigation. This new case in January, which opened, and it's under the investigation. I will not go deeper on this case because there is no end of the decision. There is still limited information on the early identification mechanism in screening for women and risk of trafficking. Prostitution is treated as an administrative office punishable by fines, with victims of traffickers or coercion exempt from liability. Victims are formally recognized as criminal proceedings. Lithuania is primarily a country of origin of victims of human trafficking, but in recent years it has emerged also as a country of destination. Victims of trafficking are entitled to free legal aid in criminal proceedings. We must underline the importance of the victims of non-punishment principle, partly including non-punishment victims, especially in the criminal article of 147 in the third part. We informed about the report that persons involved in the prostitution impose administrative fines without the police properly assessing if these persons could be victims of human trafficking. The same report we got from the Greater Council of Europe. You can go, it's public. We need to underline the importance of proactive identification of victims for the purpose of sexual exploitation, which is crucial for ensuring the application of non-punishment provision. What about labor exploitation and the data about these problems of identification? There are so many new forms of trafficking in human beings are constantly emerging, such as exploitation of minors for illegal fighting, cyber trafficking, organ trafficking, and exploitation of women for surrogacy. The problem of the demand of prostitution is not addressed as aimed to be solved. There is almost no data no systematized information on this crucial aspect of trafficking in women, especially in virtual era. Women who are exploited for prostitution are not recognized as a victim of sexual violence, sexual exploitation, as their identity is not protected. We say about the Code of Administrative Offenses, sexual exploitation is characterized as a service, unfortunately. But what about the migrant woman? What about asylum-seeking women? Many migrant women also fear losing their legal status, being separated from their children or families, and sometimes don't say about the trafficking cases, which are very close because limitation of language barriers. We saw that you're providing four language cases, but there are so many women from Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq, and depending at the same time transiting through your country, but they are also same victims of trafficking. I will go to the questions. How does the state party ensure that potential cases of trafficking, including complaints brought by migrants, asylum seekers, women and girls, and other vulnerable populations, are proactively screened for traffic indicators? The second one, please provide data on the administrative and criminal cases and implementation of criminal legislation, victims charged and perpetrators. Does the state party have any future plans to increase the number of shelters for victims of human trafficking, especially support creation for NGO shelters, we say? We are not saying about the state shelters, supporting directly. And did you have any financial support of NGOs working on the prevention of trafficking? Earlier it was in your reports, but what happening now as a situation? What about the cyber trafficking? When you have not the legislation in your criminal code, penal code, you have not in administrative code, how you regulate? You have not data, you have not regulations, but what about investigations? Maybe in the practice you're going a little bit deeper. And my fifth question, how did you reform the system of the exit programs available to women who wish to leave prostitution and measures to reduce the demand for prostitution? Ačiū.